Hello, and welcome to TechWatch, the EdTech video news program produced by eSchool News. I'm Laura Devaney. Ahead on this edition, Charles Fadel is the global leader of education for Cisco Systems. He is also on the board of directors for the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, a coalition of state education agencies, EdTech service providers, and nonprofit organizations. In an interview with eSchool News senior editor Robert Jacobson, Fadel discusses the importance of teaching these so-called 21st century skills in classrooms, and he looks into his crystal ball to talk about the future of video use in schools. Here's part one of that interview on the future of video in schools.
What is it about video that's so important, and what role do you think it's going to have 5-10 years out in this picture?
Well, first of all, the education world has been using video since its availability. We've been using 16 and 8mm reels, then we've used VHS, then we've used DVD, and now we're using streaming video. So using video in discrete or analog means has always been around since it was made available. Why? That's because as human beings, we know that vision is one of our dominant senses, if not the dominant one. And we also know that multimodal learning occurs much better than unimodal learning. And so it has always made sense since the availability of video to use that as frequently as possible. For instance, history, for instance, science. Imagine how dry the topics would be if you couldn't visualize all sorts of events and actions about the world. So we all know that video has an incredibly important role to play, and it's an augmentation of what you can do by other mechanisms to reinforce and enhance these other mechanisms.
And where do you see this going in the next 5-10 years? So just crystal ball gazing, we have evolved to a point where you have streaming over the internet, you have other means of viewing material digitally. Is this going to continue to evolve, and are we going to find an even more effective mechanism, do you think?
All these mechanisms work together, so you will see a shift in the relative importance of some of them. For instance, the adoption of video will rise, of course, because there will be more good footage available, and footage that's either purchased or procured for free over the internet, or even produced in the classroom or in adjacent classrooms or in adjacent school systems or in a state school system or across the world. All of these mechanisms can now be used. All of that video can be utilized. It will be indexed, it will be tagged, it will be rated by the students, by the teachers, and on and on. So that's just for video. But you can very easily imagine an environment in the next 5 to 10 years where video is only one type of object residing within, let's say, a virtual reality or an augmented reality environment. So it's one type of input, the same way you'd have auditory input and sometimes even kinesthetic inputs. All of those working in unison for the most complete learning possible.
There's a relatively new Cisco product called telepresence. I believe is that the correct word, telepresence? Yes. Can you speak to that, please, and tell us what you think may be not only its application in the business world, but potentially in education?
Well, telepresence is really what video conferencing should have been. Telepresence is very high definition video, and very high definition audio, which matters a great deal. So now you and I could be sitting literally across a virtual table 12 time zones apart from one another. You could be literally on the other side of the world. I would see you with the same clarity, and I would hear you with the same clarity as I do now. It's really hard to describe how good it looks. I recommend you go to the Cisco site and you look at our videos on telepresence so you get an idea of how the system operates. It's very, very high definition screens, very large screens, and it's absolutely life-size video of you facing me across the world, but across a virtual table. So once that experience takes place, it really is so far above and beyond what you might have thought of through, grainy consumer video. It's so far above that it gives a complete, it changes completely the experience you're having. You're no longer constrained by definition, meaning I'm no longer struggling to read your facial expressions. And we know how important facial expressions are in eye-to-eye communication. And so you will also not be struggling to hear me properly. And that's also extremely important because you're no longer limited by the traditional phone system's bandwidth. And so now, by hearing me and seeing me in very high definition, you can really focus on the message itself. You can focus on what I'm trying to convey to you. So that conveyance can be used for collaborative applications, which is where I think it will start, particularly at the higher ed level. Colleges and very large colleges doing distance learning and so on within their global campuses. And over time, it will migrate into K through 12. The price points will go down over time like they have for any technology. And it is clear that in the next 5 to 7 years, this might even become a home-based technology.
And the high-definition video is superior to what I could buy in the store today?
Vastly superior.
Vastly superior.
Vastly superior. So it's a completely novel experience. It takes it up to a completely different level. And by doing so, we pass this threshold where it goes from contrived to completely natural. And it's the natural aspect of this experience that makes it so enjoyable to use and that allows it to permeate all the way into the classroom at some point.
eSN TV, your #1 source for video news and information from North America's leading EdTech publications, from the world's foremost EdTech website, the eSchool News Network, America's EdTech authority. Watch eSN TV. Encounter the field's most fascinating personalities, the innovators who are turning the old school into the e-school. Watch eSN TV. Meet notable educators, advocates, and leaders. Watch eSN TV. Get real-time coverage of EdTech's most important gatherings. Stay up to the minute. Get the EdTech news and information you need to succeed. Watch eSchool News TV.